It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
John, we have the best listeners. Do you want to talk about this that was just sent to you and I via text?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's an organization, and apparently, I don't know if this is it's called the Coalition with STL Kids. This is on X at with STL Kids. And it says, don't let them throw this lady under the bus. They're talking about the Keishas Scarlett. The board approves or denies $1 million no-bid contracts. The board approves or denies all positions. They approve or deny all budgets. It was the board who missed the audit. The board approved all of this blame there. And it cuts off there, but I think we can figure out that they're blaming Keishas Scarlett, who is the superintendent. But see, to a certain extent, I sort of agree with this, but I don't, because of the fact that the board, I mean, if it's no bid contracts, I mean, the board doesn't approve that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. Also, and so here's an unpopular view. Why don't we just accept that any money that goes to St. Louis Public Schools, there will be a certain amount of theft. There'll be a certain amount of, if you bring somebody in from Seattle or Tacoma or Houston, they're going to give money to their friends. They're going to steal money, allegedly. And that's just the way it's going to be in urban government. And why don't we just accept that a certain element of bureaucrats are always going to steal money, Brad? Like, I mean, why do we expect anything better from St. Louis Public Schools leadership? And I know there are do-gooders out there that say, but if we had a grassroots coalition and we started, no, you're not. The city's lost. Move west. Get on 40, get on 70, move west. Brad, when was the last time you heard about Keisha giving contracts out in Cottleville?
Well, but I think the thing that bothers me about this is, here we are using another segment. Oh, I thought we were going to move on from this, but we got the text. Okay. The interesting thing about this is there's a quote, and I don't know if you can find this real quick. There's a quote in the article that talks about that Keisha made some comment, and I don't know the exact words, but she referred to the fact that there was not much talent here in the St. Louis area.
Yes, the lack of talent in the St. Louis area.
Right. The reason she's bringing all these people from Seattle, she's exactly right, because how many times, I mean, like, for example, I've been to the St. Louis Public Schools administration building before she got there, and there were like guys walking around in bib overalls, they were barefoot, and women,
I know. They were hayseeds.
Right. Women were walking around, looking like they just got, done bowling at the bowling alley, and they were going to go out and, tip a couple brewskis in the parking lot. And, and you go into some of the people's offices, and like where most people would have their sheepskin on the wall, which would be like their college degree, some of the administrators actually had sheepskins on the wall. I shot that
actual sheep.
Yeah, I shot that sheep last week down in my South 40. And Keisha comes in and she says, "Whoa, all these local bumpkins with no talent, we're getting rid of them. We're bringing in the smart people from Seattle, right? All those smart people from Seattle."
And she was able to get her friends to take a break from working at the Kurt Cobain Museum and come in. Brad, a headline on the front page of STL today is, Ladue disbands police over serious financial woes. Florissant likely to take over.
Oh, no.
Wait a minute. No. Wait, hold on. It wasn't Ladue. Calverton Park. I'm sorry. I went to the Hazelwood schools, Brad. I don't have great reading comprehension. Calverton Park disbands police over, quote, serious, unquote, financial woes. Florissant likely to take over. Brad, to my last point, when was the last time you heard of Town and Country or Weldon Spring? I know they don't have their own police association, whatever. Or St. Peter's having to go to another municipality because somebody in office couldn't manage to add up the numbers right and manage the books. Why do we expect that Pine Lawn will have competent government? Why would we expect that Wellston would be able to manage its books, Brad? George Bush talked about, he called it the soft bigotry of low expectations. Maybe that's just called reality, Brad. Do you think Calverton Park is going to be able to manage its own books?
Well, first off, most people don't know where Calverton Park is, and unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I do, because, as a matter of fact, I had a conversation with somebody the other day where I named off, and this is a person who's lived in St. Louis the entire life. I named off 3 different municipalities, and this person said, "Where are they? What city is that in?" "They're in St. Louis County." And she was like, What? She'd never heard of them before. One of
And
them.
Calverton Park is approximately 8 square feet.
Yeah, it's not very big.
And they exist only to get parking revenue. But let's not get too into the. I know you have a Calverton Park ticket story, Brad. But here's the thing.
No,
Why would we expect these municipalities to be competent?
Well,
I just think that we're holding them to a standard that they'll never be able to reach.
But see, the problem here is, and God, you get me going on a whole different thing. Okay, if you drive 270. And you drive north and south and you see Olive. Okay, the Olive overpass is like a garden. The Olive overpass has all this beautiful landscaping and, and all these trees and stuff like that. And it looks just absolutely positively beautiful. Okay, if you drive I-70 and you go into downtown St. Louis and you look at the West Florissant overpass, which once upon a time had these little brick facades that were put up around the round support columns that hold the bridge up, it looks like somebody shot him with an RPG and there's pieces missing and things like that. Okay, why is that? Okay, because the people in Creve Coeur are like, we're leaving Creve Coeur. We have to have everything look nice. And they spend time and effort to do that. Whereas the people in their area on 70 at West Florissant, they don't care. And once again, it's the citizens. And let's not turn it into a race thing, because there are areas of St. Louis County, certain areas of St. Louis County that, like for example, a fairly big city that years ago had problems with their police department, Fenton. They just shut the police department down and they hired St. Louis County. Now Fenton is very prosperous area. It has now it's getting a ton of tax revenue from the old Chrysler plant, which is being built up with all the different, distribution warehouses and Wally's and things like that.
But your point is that it's not about race. It's about the geography and the people who make up that community.
Because of the fact they had people, and I'm not besmirching anybody's reputation in in Fenton, but they didn't run things properly, and it got out of control, okay? And once again, it could be from a number of different factors. They could have had a bunch of cops who were, like the Rambo kind of guys. We'll do whatever the hell we want. And at some point in time, I'm just prophesizing this, at some point in time, the Fenton city people, the mayor said, you know what, the cops are out of control. We're just going to get rid of them all and hire St. Louis County, which is ultimately what they did.
Sure.
But the problem with this is it comes down to people, let's be honest with you, that live and work in that area who give a poop. That's what it comes down to, okay?
Right, of course. And if you're driving through, if you're at the median in Chesterfield, if you're on Swingley Ridge, you're not going to, most of the people, if you live there, you're not going to throw your vape pen or your zigzag wrappers out the window onto the tulips. You're going to keep it in the car and you're going to throw it away when you walk into Deerbergs. Meanwhile, Brad, if you're at the corner of Bell Fountain and Trampy, and you're going to Magic Market, you might just throw your Swisher Sweet box out the window, because who gives a rip?
Well, and what John hasn't said, which he's being a little bit protective of that area. When you go to the Deerbergs in Chesterfield, you can't buy Red Hot riblets because they don't sell them there.
They don't sell them there. Yeah, you got to go to Aldi.
Right, you got to go to Aldi's. No, but once again, it takes people getting involved from the grassroots, and it takes people caring. And once again, the sad part of this is my mom and dad grew up in North City. And at one point in time, North City was like an incredible place to live, okay? It ain't that way anymore. And for a number of different reasons, you can, go through all the different things and things like that. I've told this story. I don't think I've ever told this story on this station. My mom and dad both went to Beaumont High School, which I don't think is around anymore. My dad was in the gun club at Beaumont High School. They met one day a week. My dad walked to school with his .22 long rifle caliber rifle. He walked to school with his rifle. Now, let's fast forward to today. If there was a kid walking to whatever high school is there with a rifle, he would probably get 2 blocks, and the SWAT team would be called on in, right? There would be.
Actually, there would be no SWAT team because there's no police officers
right,
in the city.
But there would.
And let's remark. Go ahead, Brad.
Well, there would be 911 calls. Oh, my God. Okay, let's talk about something else. It hasn't been that long ago that if you go to a high school in a rural area, that you would see the kids who are over 16 and over who would drive their trucks to school with a gun rack in the back and with a gun in the gun rack, and that was in the parking lot of the school. If you saw that today, you wouldn't see it because of the fact that even in rural areas, somebody would call 911. There's a truck in the parking lot of XYZ High School, and there's a shotgun in the gun rack. And
a bunch of lonely women would show up wearing orange and shirts that say "Moms Demand Action." And because really, those moms are definitely not getting any action.
But
that has to do with their comfortable shoes, by the way.
Would they bring
and they would protest, and they would say, "We can't have guns." Go ahead, Brett.
Would they bring their cats with them?
Yeah, they would definitely bring their cats, and they would smell like Kamala Harris.
And JD Vance would go, "See, I told you about those women with cats. I told you they were trouble." Right.
And with all due respect to friends that you and I have, Brad, who should know better than to take this personally, they're really well-intentioned people who say, "But what about the kids that are trapped in these schools?" And that is sad, and it is unfortunate. And also, realistically, how are you going to fix it? And if you think that somehow you're going to go to grassroots meetings once a month and you're going to inspire people to make change, you might as well go buy George Strait's oceanfront property in Arizona, because it's not going to happen. So give up, move to a safe area, hope the best for those kids, and just focus on the things you can control. And Brad, by the way, yes, there were areas in North City. I think if you are white and you live in the Westplex, you are no more than 2 generations removed from white people that used to live in Walnut Park or live in Spanish Lake or live in Baden. Brad, I went to Baden Fest as a kid. White people could walk the streets after dark in Baden. But as Tony Soprano once said, Brad, remember when is the lowest form of conversation. And I know that you and I love to wax philosophic about Ronnie's Barbershop and, hey, remember when we could walk in Baden? But guess what? White people couldn't walk around Baden for decades now. It's dead. We got to leave it there. And if you want more information about living in a safe place, you can talk to Brad about the brand new Westplex Chamber of Commerce.
God, throws me a bone there. My doctor, my pediatrician, used to be in Baden. And what was interesting about that was that after I aged out of being a pediatrician, I had allergies, and he was an allergy specialist. And I still went to see him. Even in college, I went to see him. He shot me with my allergy shots once or twice a week, depending upon what week it was, stuff like that. And his office was in Baden. And you're right, that used to be a very safe area. But see, here's the flip side. The flip side of it is, it's the same thing that happened like on Wash Ave. Some developer comes along and sees, oh my God, I can buy this property up from pennies on the dollar. Yep. I can buy the whole block. I can buy 10 blocks, and I can buy this stuff, and I can turn it into the new fancy schmancy place that all the hipsters want to live in. And before I came in, a flop house apartment was going for $125 a month. I'm going to renovate it, and that same flop house apartment's going to be $2,000 a month. So then what happens is they come in and they improve it, and then the people who were there say, oh, it's gentrification. We're being pushed out by the white people. So you can't win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you absolutely can't win. And one more note about Baden, too. Do you remember Sterling Moody?
I don't remember Sterling Moody.
He was a black businessman. He would buy like Old National stores and try to make. He did a lot for the community. And I remember meeting him like 20 years ago, and he treated me like a long lost friend. He was just very kind to me for no good reason. But Brad, he bought buildings in Baden, and he tried to make community supermarkets, and they would work for a while, and then there'd be too much thievery and whatever, and they would close. But to show that it's not a race thing, a guy like Sterling Moody, a black businessman, tried to invest in Baden and try to do something nice for the community. And then you have kids come in and rob it, and then you have predatory lenders, and you have a whole bunch of factors. Just quit. Just give up. Well, don't be like the people who think, I'm going to really do something to help my community. Just leave. Give up. It's not worth it.
The problem is what you're talking about to a certain extent is what's happening right now in California. And I don't know, we didn't talk about this last week. Do you know that Gavin Newsome laid down the law last week about the fact that he's now going to go and he's told all the communities in California to clean out the homeless people? Do you know about this?
I don't know that, no.
Oh, let me just pull that story for you, because essentially what happened was when the Supreme Court ruling came down, which dealt with the homeless, and I can't remember what city that was in, but essentially the pros were against. They were saying, look, these homeless people are taking over areas, they're bringing in drugs and communicable diseases, and they're pooping on the sidewalks and urinating in the street, and they're causing not only a terrible problem, but they're causing health concerns. Remember, we talked about this, I think probably when you and I first started doing the show, that there was a situation was in especially in Los Angeles, they have, and once again, the Los Angeles River is this drainage canal that normally is dry as a bone, but when they have rains, it fills up, and the people were pooping in these canals and these drainage canals and things like that. And then when the rain would come along, they would have to close the beaches near where these drains or rivers went into the Pacific Ocean, because the bacteria level was through the ceiling because everybody's poop was flowing out to the Pacific Ocean.
Get it, yeah.
Once again, the situation is like, okay, how do you stop that? Well, you don't let people steal under $950. You don't let people shoot, drugs, sell drugs in the open market. You don't let people shoot up. You don't let people, grab a sidewalk in front of some guy's business and camp out there. The police come, back in the day, I knew some old-time cops that they would say, you know what, if they don't listen to my words, they'll listen to my nightstick. And you know what? And I hate to say it, but that worked. You know what I mean? It worked.
I do know exactly what you mean, Brad.
Once again, you get whacked over the head a few times with some, guy's billy club, and you're going to go, I don't think I want to do that anymore, right? But people are going to go, oh my God.
This has been a fantastic old white men nostalgia hour, Brad, and I've contributed to it. And I just talked about how we shouldn't play Remember When white people could walk through Baden. But for those who don't know, it's true.
But see, once again, the sad part of it is, let me go back one thing with backtrack one more time. Okay, ultimately, who is responsible for what going on in the city of St. Louis? It's Tishaura Jones. Okay,
right?
She should be, when this crap hit the fan on Friday, she should be there in front of the school district board building, wherever the hell that is. I don't even know where it's at in the city of St. Louis, with the news crew saying, look, this is terrible. I am personally going to work on this project. Me as the mayor of St. Louis, I am going to get things done in the St. Louis public schools. I'm going to take care of business. I'm going to straighten things out. But where was she? She wasn't there. And nobody talked to her, and apparently she doesn't give a poop, right?
Well, I don't know. She might have had something to say, but also she could have been in Portland recruiting the next administrator.
That's what we need.
Because there's some great talent in Eugene, Oregon. There's none here in St. Louis.
Right.
And if you go to Portland, you go along the coast, Brad, they got some great Pinot there too, Pinot Noir.
Right. We burnt out Seattle. We got the best of the best in Seattle.
Yeah, now we stripped that.
Now we need to move down the coast a little bit. We'll hit Portland, right? Yeah, we'll do the Portland thing. Okay.
Brad, I'd love to stay in chat, but I have to analyze some flow. I got a $49,000 contract, and I really got to take a look at the flow. And that's not a urine and prostate joke at my age, Brad. I really got to look at the flow.
John, I apologize for us getting on late. Our truncated show this morning.
Hey, at least the show will exist on YouTube, Brad. At least we're not going to have a giant dip on Monday and Tuesday on our stats. Go ahead, Brad.
Wow, John, just throwing gasoline on the fire. Okay, have a good day, John.
You too, Brad.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?